The point is, you can do everything right. You can do what you're supposed to. You can make your plan, but you can still end up with weeds in your garden. It's just impossible. Life is going to throw you some curveballs. In fact, it's almost designed that way because there is a process to growth. In order to mature, you only mature, it's like working out. You don't build muscle unless there's tension. You have to have tension. You have to develop strength. You have to be pushing against something. That's the only way you develop muscle. And the only way we grow and develop in life is that we have the vicissitudes of life. We have what goes on with life that causes us to get strong. And even though God doesn't cause it, He allows it. And He allows it for our growth and for our development. The point is, you're going to have weeds. All right? And they're all different kinds of weeds. I want you to look at your paper there. And I want you to see the different kinds of weeds that exist. I want you to see how many of them and how they grow. And I want you to see that most of them, you'll find out that they choke out stuff. They choke out stuff. They even when some of them look good, they still are detrimental. You know, all weeds are not ugly. Some people think that weeds are ugly. The difference Janine gave you the definition of a weed, but a weed is simply, it's another kind of flower-looking thing, but it's planted unintentionally. It's normally, nobody just goes and plants weeds. You know, you don't just go plant them. But they're unintentionally planted, and they come up. When they come up, very often they look good, but you can't see what they're doing. You can't see down at the root that they're smothering out the root of the grass. You can't see that they're sucking life from other vegetation because you don't see that. And very often when we have weeds in our life, we don't see that either. We don't see what the weeds are doing. We don't see the effect that the weeds are having. So sometimes we almost welcome the weeds because they can be pretty. Like a bad relationship.
All right.
It can have some semblance of goodness, but it can be toxic. And sometimes you don't see the toxicity, but you will experience it, and others may experience it down the line. And you'll try to figure out what the ham sandwich went wrong because you didn't see it because it didn't look like a weed. But when it began to produce, then you knew it was a weed, but then by then it was too late because it had done its work.
Come on. Okay.
So then the weeds will do stuff underground that you can't see. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They're underground, and they may look they may look the same, but they're not the same. In fact, Jesus said, okay, they're weeds and they're tares. And in fact, in this man's field, the tares were growing up together. Jesus was showing them what the kingdom looked like. That in the kingdom, everybody will look like they're the same. But when they begin to come up and produce, you begin to see a production. But still, that's not for us to deal with. That God will deal with this. We have to let them grow together in that sense. But in the sense of weeds that you see growing in your life, you can't let that grow together. You have to cut that off. You have to do, as Janine suggested, that you have to get your gardening gloves and you have to go to work. You got to get busy. And the situation with us and our weeds is that many times, like me, we don't want to do the work. We know what the weeds are. We easily articulated what our weeds were. We easily articulated on the paper what the beauty was of our situation. And we could see our gardening, what we desired. And we could easily see then what the weeds were. But here's the issue, is then what do we do? What do we do about the weeds? Taking responsibility for our weeds is not always easy. Because we will say, we can almost use as an excuse, well, I didn't plant that. Well, where did that come from? Well, wow, I didn't do that. But still we have to take responsibility for our weeds, because in that last question I asked you, what was that last question I asked you, the true or false statement? Weeds are just a natural part of gardening? Yeah. But the point is we don't have to live with it, and we don't have to accept it.